everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So when it comes to comedies, I am on the firm belief that a comedy should not cross the 90-minute mark. Even crossing 100 minutes, I think that most comedies are skating on thin ice. And what happens if you cross that 2-hour mark? Then you are in some serious trouble. The movie we're gonna take a look at today crosses the 150-minute mark, and in some cases even the 3-hour mark. There are many versions of this movie. The one I am going to review, I think, is the standard 154-minute version. But the question is, does it survive these 154 minutes? The short answer is yes, it actually does. This is by far the best comedy that I have ever seen over 2 hours. Now, it does have some problems, and the very bloated runtime will come back and bite it in the ass eventually. But considering how long this is, considering how incredibly vast this movie is, it still works. Problems? Does it have some? Yes! But let's find out what this movie is all about, shall we? This is a mad world! There has been a traffic accident, and a bunch of people who was in the nearby has stopped to try and see if they can, help this guy who is just sailing out there, as one of the participants says. And they find this guy who is about to die. And before he dies, however, he reveals to them that in a town called Santa Rosita, located in Southern California, there's all this dough, you see, $350,000 buried under a big W. And then he kicks the bucket, both literally and visually. So the question is, did he tell them the truth? Are there actually $350,000 buried in this small little town under a big W? After some failed negotiation of trying to divide $350,000 among them, it all turns into a big race, every man for himself, etc. At the same time as this is happening, the Santa Rosita Police Department is actually, knowing what is going on. Culpepper knows all about the loot and, who stole it and stuff like that. So we know that there actually is such a thing as a buried treasure somewhere. And over the course of the 2.5 hours, we get to know our participants in this race quite well. The married couple with the horrible mother-in-law, Mickey Rooney and his bumbling sidekick, the guy with the hat, the mooing truck guy and stuff like that. Who is going to reach them? We shall see. And who is going away with all of this money? We shall see. One thing this movie has working for itself is the pacing. There's always stuff happening. There's always some physical humor, some misunderstanding, some argumentations to be made, or some pretty impressive stunts, or some pretty fun physical comedy. Stuff is always happening. Granted, not everything is going to work. Not every joke is going to land. Some of the jokes has aged horribly, and some of the setups are very elaborate and very long, but amounts to, that was kind of funny. But there are these fantastic small little gems of comedy, especially the admiral who's trying to help Mickey Rooney land the plane where the pilot has become too drunk and has fallen over. He was fucking hilarious. The horrible mother-in-law, who is so horrible that other horrible mother-in-laws that was made in the 1960s thinks that one is a little excessive. Tone it down. She has a son, Sylvester, who actually lives in Santa Rosita, and all the sequences with him is fucking hilarious, because he may be one of the most stupid and incredibly incompetent people I've ever seen in an entire movie. And the characters are very colorful and they're very archetypical, and you can sort of see where they're coming from a mile away. I love the British guy, by the way. I've seen him in a lot of these kind of chase comedies that was very popular in the 1960s. But what a mad world is most famous for is probably the cameos, because this movie features a whole litany of some of the most famous comedians from the 60s and before that. Now, speaking for myself, I'm not some comedians connoisseur, and I didn't recognize even, half of these people. So for me, it was less of a who's who, but more of a who's that. when it came to all of these cameos, but it filled the purpose of making this movie feel big, important, and massive. Because for lack of a better word, this is an epic comedy. This is a monumental comedy. And when you get to that end, you feel like you have really experienced something. But this movie stumbled severely on the finish line. I just thought that they took some of the comedy a little bit too far and made it a little bit too silly. And I very, very much disliked the conclusion of the entire story. It was very unsatisfying. Not quite as unsatisfying as the sort of remake they made 2001 called Rat Race. That movie is approximately as good as this one is, but it didn't have nearly as much star power, but it also was about, what, 45-50 minutes shorter than this one, so it has that going on for itself. If you've never seen a monumental comedy such as this before, it can be a little harrowing experience because how big it is, because you probably don't recognize lots of these, comedians who I guess were, famous comedians at the time. But for me, I got into the story quite well because it's so fascinating to see what kind of transportation device are they going to use next? What kind of a silly, situation are they going to end up this time? How little of an effort does it take for the tow truck guy to completely destroy that service station, for instance? There are a lot of small little sequences in this movie that is absolutely brilliant. There are some, more elaborate jokes in this one that doesn't land as well. And as I said, I didn't like the ending. But it is a fun and very entertaining movie to watch. It doesn't work all the time, and it is a little bit too stuck in the 60s compared to other more timeless comedy that was made at the same time, like A Shot in the Dark or The Greatest Race, that is more timeless than this one. If The Greatest Race might be not quite as good as this one, but if you want to take great 1960s comedies, A Shot in the Dark I think is still the best one. But this is a really, really good comedy. Not everything works, it's a bit too long, but damn it, when it works, it really works. When I rewatched this movie for the purpose of this review, I realized that there is a lot of things that doesn't work as well as I remembered it the last time I saw this movie. But I will still give this movie 73 points. I think it is an impressive, very big, very spectacular comedy. If they could have stuck the landing with a great finale, maybe it could have been even better. And it has an excellent pace considering how long it is. It is big, it's spectacular, some of the stunts are truly breathtaking. I do recommend this movie, but I also recommend another thing. When you see this movie, make sure that you have a possibility to fast forward through the opening credits, because they go on for quite some time and are not nearly as funny as they think it is. So have you seen It's a Mad, 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 Mad World? What do you think about it? Comment below and I'll see you next time from, well, so-and-so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.